Hi friends, right, when it comes to lettuce, I'm going to show you two ways of how you can sow lettuce. But first of all, I want to just show you what I've done here with this tray. So with lettuce, if you want to grow them for head lettuces, I use a slightly bigger plug. So it's just easier and they've got more space. But I wanted to show you this. Can you see how I've pushed down the compost? I've compressed it. Just because you want as much compost in that little cell as possible, because the more soil that it has to grow in, then the longer it can stay in the little plug to form a really good plug. So you just compress it and then fill the top. Get rid of any big bits. Okay. I'm just going to push it down a little bit like this, just so I can sow my seeds into it, because I'm really sorry about my nail polish, but you know, it's a pandemic. Now we're just going to surface sow lettuce because it really doesn't like to go deep at all. I'll show you the seeds. Now, the better that you can handle lettuce, I can't even get this open, the better that you can handle lettuce, the easier it will be. Look, they're tiny, guys. There's not a lot of seeds in there at all. I'm going to have to be nimble. Can you see? Tiny seeds. That's why they really don't like to go deep. So I'm just going to get two on my finger like this. And I'm just going to gently pop them in. One, two. Now I'm doing two because I obviously always like to do two as a backup, but I'm not doing any more just because it's going to be easier for me to thin out. You don't want to sow. It's so easy to over sow lettuce. You don't want to do that. Okay, so just two per cell. Yeah, you don't want to go overboard because then it's going to be really hard to thin out. And they don't like a lot of disturbance. So just two to each cell. I'll pick that up so you can see. Can you see that they're tiny little seeds? And then I'm just going to cover it. You can use perlite, vermiculite, or a very, very, very thin layer of sieved compost. They only like to be just covered, just so it takes the light away, but not too deep, because they won't germinate. They're so finicky with germination, lettuce, and it took me a long time to learn to just do it like that. So I'll just repeat that, two per cell for the rest of my lettuce, but now I'm going to show you a different way of how you can sow lettuce which isn't as finicky and a bit easier. So here I've got a tray, and as you can see, it's got holes in the bottom. You see, for drainage. Now this is a seed tray. We also have gravel trays which don't have holes in, which you put your cell trays into so you can bottom water them. But this is actually a seed tray, so we can sow in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up with the same mix, damp compost, that I used for cell tray sowing of lettuce. And I'm going to show you that you can grow salad in a tray too, a cut and come again version, as they say. So the other way is to create heads of lettuce, which you obviously can cut and come again, which is where you snip the outer leaves. But this is going to be a tray of mixed leaves that we can just cut when we want a little bit of salad. So I'm just going to firm that down with my hand. And this way is much easier because we've got a mix. So this is mesclun mix, I think that's how you say it. And what we're going to do is, and as you can see, it's got loads of different types of lettuce seeds in. I think it's also mixed some beetroot in there as well, so you can get beetroot greens. Can you see this little one here? This is a beetroot seed. So what we're going to do is we're going to broadcast sow, which basically means scatter. So we're going to scatter that. Probably need a bit more, otherwise it'll be a bit sparse. We're going to scatter all over the tray, like this. Can you see how I'm just broadcast sowing that? It's probably just a little bit more. I'm just going to use got more control when I've got the packet. That's probably plenty. So this will grow as a whole tray of lettuce with all the mixture of different types in, and then we'll just cut some when we want some and it'll grow back. So it's easier. So if you're in a container garden and you're only growing in pots, you can do it in a pot too. I'm just doing it tray because this is what I have at the moment. But yeah, you can do that on top of the surface of a pot. You can do it on the surface of a hanging basket and it'll just grow, and you can cut and come again. And then obviously, because this is me, I'm just going to gently cover it with perlite, because apparently I love perlite, don't I? I wonder how many of you have actually bought perlite since you saw these videos, because I'm a bit obsessed, aren't I? So lightly cover. I'll obviously have to do a bit more of this, but I'm running out in my little jar. And I'll pop it somewhere in the house. Doesn't need any light. I'll obviously put a bit more on than that. And then once it's germinated, I'll pop it in the cold frame like the rest of the lettuce. And then I'll show you in a few weeks how that's growing. That's another way that you can sow lettuce.